Hey, welcome to this channel. So glad that you decided to come back for part 2 of I Am Not African American. In part 1, we learned of a few things. We could cover this topic for ages, but I want to just make it simplified, and I will give you the history and the Bible study that I study and who I study with. That way, if you have any other questions, you can also start your journey. Like I said, this Bible study and history lessons have really changed my life, and I just want to share just a snippet of what I have received and been blessed with, and hopefully this can help you out as well. So in the first video, we went over some witnesses and some clues. If you haven't seen that video, I urge you to go back and watch that one first and then come back to this one. But we had a lot of witnesses, and we also went into some references, and we're going to do that again today, but we're going to dive a little bit deeper into the lesson. And if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the box below. I'll also have some cards somewhere throughout the video of where you can click on the different videos that I reference on today. And I will put my Bible study and also my history study in the description box, just in case you want to look at other videos, because there are thousands out there underneath this particular Bible study and history lesson. So let's go ahead and get started. I want to start with a video that I saw on TikTok of a Christian, a believer, who basically came across another person who had questions about slavery. Now, I do notice today, in today's society, we have a lot of us, and when I say us, I mean your so-called African Americans, black people, that are going to other gods. They're praying to the ancestors. They're receiving wisdom from the ancestors. That's a whole nother topic, but this will kind of answer the question that you will see in just a few minutes from this video. Let's begin.
When I come across people who believe in ancestral spirits and they ask me where was the God of the Bible during slavery, I always ask them, where were your ancestors? Where were your ancestors during slavery? Since you don't believe in the God of the Bible, I mean, maybe your ancestors can tell us where they were, since you talked to them anyway.
Okay, so that is the case with so many people today, praying to the ancestors. We mentioned in video 1 how when we are on the major screen, the big screens, how we are always associated with other gods. We're always associated with witchcraft. We're always associated with voodoo. We're always associated with all types of dark magic and evilness. So let's go ahead and dive a little bit into this. Now, there is also a movie that came out, I believe it was last year. It is an Amazon movie called Them. It's a very dark movie. It took place back during at the beginning of integration, at the end of segregation. Black family lived in North Carolina, also known as the South, decided to up and leave because of the things that happened in that area, and with their child, they decided to up and leave, go to California, and they were met with a whole different type of racism and evilness. So let's watch this particular snippet of the movie, and keep in mind that the mother in this series is actually facing the devil, and the devil gives her an answer we are in the shape that we're in as Black people, as Negro. Look at all the names we've had. We went over this in part 1. We have nigger, which is when we came over here, colored, Black, Negro, and now African American. So let's hear what this particular demon had to say to this Black mother as to why we are in the shape that we're in as a people. Let's watch.
Why have you come here?
Not your concern, devil. What is that I'm here now.
Your trespass upset the order of things.
The order of
God
things.
intended our community stay pure, of intention, of purpose, of blood.
Who gave you the right?
The Lord himself. As it is written, your vile, indolent race suffer, toil at our hands.
Not in any book I've read.
Spiteful beast. Have you considered this shall not end? Let your curse follow you. Followed you here to our land, and will follow you without escape into the next. You had a covenant.
We had a covenant.
A most sacred bond.
A most sacred bond.
To uphold. You failed him. I do know this pain.
Okay, so I want to just kind of rewind because it's going to all make sense in a few minutes. It's all going to make sense. But I want to get to that exact part. Please listen carefully one more time.
Why have you come here?
Not your concern, devil. What is that I'm here now.
Your trespass upset the order of things. God intended our community stay pure, of intention, of purpose, of blood.
Who gave you the right?
The Lord himself. As it is written, your vile, indolent race suffer, toil at our hands.
Not in any book I've read.
Spiteful beast. Have you considered this shall not end? Let your curse follows you. Followed you here to our land, and will follow you without escape into the next. You had a covenant, a most sacred bond that you failed to uphold. You failed him on that day.
Okay, that's all I wanted you to hear, which kind of answers the question as to why we are in the situation that we are in. Please go and watch this documentary. I'm just skimming through it, but let's go ahead and let's start right here.
Jews made use of every opportunity. They were an industrious and skillful people. In the Jewish Ghanaian states were found kings, princes, governors, generals, secretaries, treasurers, revenue agents, judges, architects, engineers, doctors, historians, language interpreters, mathematicians, jewelers, sculptors, masons, carpenters, painters of art, goldsmiths, leather workers, potters, armorers, saddlers, blacksmith, agriculturalists, etc.
Go get your Bibles. We will be referencing from this primarily tonight. I also have the Bible dictionary that we went over the other day. There are a lot of books that I have, and let's go ahead and begin.
Because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee. And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever. Because thou servest not the Lord thy God with joyfulness and with gladness of heart, for the abundance of all things, therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee, in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee.
Okay, so I want to go dig a little bit deeper into Deuteronomy 28. If you could turn in your Bibles, and just for convenience, I'm going to go ahead and pull that up. So if we go to Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, move that out my way. If we go there, if you look at verses 1 to 15, these are all the blessings that we were supposed to have as a people, as Black people. More so, and I'm going to give you some background, but more so as his chosen people. We are his chosen people. Not only are we his chosen people, I will put up um, a diagram of all of the children of Israel, all of Jacob's seed. I will also put in the video that you can actually go back and get some more depth. But just looking at Revelations, the word, when I say the word, I mean the Bible. It tells us to read the Bible line upon line, precept upon precept. So I may find something in Genesis and may not find the rest of it until I get to Philippians or something like that. It's good to read the Bible. And a lot of times people say, well, I don't understand. It's good to read the Bible chronologically, but you also have to know how to find what you're looking for. And so it tells us to read line upon line, precept upon precept. Now, going back to Deuteronomy 28th chapter, you have 1 through 15 that shows us the blessings that we were supposed to have as a people. What I mean as a people, I'm not only talking about Black people, but that's the title of this video is I'm Not African Part 2. And so the 15th verse said, but it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe, to do his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. Curses. Now, we just saw in the video of them, we just saw where the priest told us about the curses. Okay, this is what he was referring to. This is what the powers that be know. This is what the top secret of the world is letting us or keeping us in the dark of who we really are. Now, all of these curses in verse 28, in chapter 28, cursed shall it be in the city, cursed shall it be in the field, cursed shall be that basket and that store. We can't save hardly any money. I mean, look at us collectively as a people, in terms of riches and being successful and having the houses. And if we do have some of those things, Most of those things are given to entertainers, athletes, people on the big screen, and they have to pay a high cost for it. And I'm not talking about out of their pockets. I'm talking about their soul. They have to pay a cost for it. That's a whole nother topic, but just going through some of the curses that is in here. Um, and thy heaven that is over thy head shall be brass, and the earth that is under thee shall be iron. It talks about, it just talks about a lot of just different curses that we are facing today. If you go through here and looked at these curses, we are the people that are going through these curses. Keep in mind, the Bible is a history book. Not only is it our history book, it is also a prophecy book. The things that are going on in the earth today, this is my newspaper. I coincide that with the word and see exactly where we are. The Lord shall smite thee with madness and blindness and astonishment of the heart. Now, it goes on and on and on and on and on. Here to the last verse. And let me just go um, to the 64th verse. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people from one end of the earth to the other, and there thou shalt serve other gods, ancestors, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. What's wood and stone? Wood is I'm going to have to break it down to you. It's the cross. We don't celebrate Martin Luther King. We don't celebrate the gun that killed Martin Luther King. And when you talk about stone, look at all of, when you go into the Catholic Church, when you go to some of these other religions, how they have a lot of stones. You have angels, you have different plates with different wordings on there that actually has, I think, the Georgia stones. These things are actually worshipped. So it says with wood and stone. And it says, and among these nations shall thou find no ease. Can't be easy. Can't rest. Can't Everything is just in disarray. When you solve one problem, here comes 10 more. So 65 says, and these and among in the midst of these nations, thou shalt find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest. Do you work overtime? You don't have any time for family? As soon as you lay down, it's time to get back up for work. And you're doing all of these hours, but when you get your paycheck, it still isn't enough. But the Lord shall give thee there a trembling heart and failing eyes and a sorrowful mind. That sorrowful mind, that's your depression. You can't get ahead. You're working hard. You're being honest. You're doing what you're supposed to do or what you think you're supposed to be doing. And you're still depressed because you can't get it right. And it says, and thy life shall hang in doubt before thee. That's us all day. And thou shalt fear day and night, and shall have none assurance of life. What is our assurance of life? As soon as we had the pandemic, who was the first group that was targeted or who was at risk, at a higher risk? No assurance of life. When you go outside, I was watching something on YouTube. It was a a lady who worked for a recreation center. She just went outside on break. And she went outside on break and never returned back because she was gunned down. And shall have no assurance of life. She thought she was going to come back in. She thought it was going to be another day. It's 67 says, in the morning thou shalt say, would God it were even, and at even thou shalt say, would God if it were morning? For the fear of thy heart wherewith thou shalt fear, and for the sight of thine eyes which thou see. So when it's nighttime, we're like, oh, if I just make it to the morning. And then when it's morning time, oh, if I could just make it to tonight. It's no peace. You're constantly all over the place. This is part of the curse. Now pay very close attention to this one. 68 says, and the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt. Now, Egypt was a place of bondage. Yes, you had Pharaoh, and you had Pharaoh and his crew who were the rulers over Egypt. But who worked? Who slaved? Who built the pyramids? Who built the structures in Egypt? It was the Jews. Not Jewish, ISH, but the Jews who built these things. So whenever you see Egypt referenced in the Bible, it's talking about bondage. And so 68 says, and the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. Let me say that again. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt, and the Lord shall bring thee into bondage again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more. Did we go back to Africa? The ships took us from Africa, but did we ever return? Thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. I'm just going to say it one more time. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt bondage again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. Africa didn't come back for us. That's because they knew we wasn't there. Okay. All right. All right. So when we're talking about praying to the ancestors have no power. We respect the ancestors, and what we can get out of the ancestors is learning what mistakes they made. That's what we can learn from our ancestors. So we will not do the same thing. I want to go through some more scriptures just to prove why I say I am not African American. I want to go to Deuteronomy 28, and I think I just read 64. So we already got the scattering part where he will scatter his people throughout all the ends of the earth. And we are in the West, but we are all over. We are scattered throughout nations all over. If we go to Jeremiah, I'm going to try to keep this as brief as possible. If we go to Jeremiah, the 16th chapter, and let's start at the 10th verse. The Lord is angry. We can't blame him. Well, if there was a God, then why does he allow certain things to happen? That's because we're disobedient. Obeys you after you've told them time after time after time after time not to do something, they still do it. You gonna go out and buy them a PlayStation? You're gonna give them a pocket full of money? You're gonna go buy them some Jordans? You're going to actually reward their disobedience to you? Let's let's start at the 10th verse. And it shall come to pass when thou shalt show this people all these words, and they shall say unto thee, wherefore hath the Lord pronounced all this great evil against us? Or what is our iniquity? Or what is our sin that we have committed against the Lord our God? First of all, you got to know who your God is. You got to take it back, y'all. That's why I said I will be putting my Bible study in the description box, and also my history lessons in the description box, because you got to start from the beginning. Everything that you think you know, you got to start off as a child. You got to uncover all of these lies that have been told to us so we can move on. You got to know what is required of you. Am I perfect? No. Have I made it? No. Will I reach perfection over here? No. But what I can do is try to alter some of the wicked ways that I had adapted in my life, and try to alter them and try to do the best I can and live by the word of God, which is not only a Bible that God told me to read, but it's also my history book so I can learn. Okay. And so they're asking, like, what have we done? Why are all these evil things happening? Keeping in mind that we've been punished several times. The Atlantic slave trade was our last captivity, but we've been serving other nations all the way back to Egypt. We've been serving other captivities because we failed to honor the covenant, like the preacher said, or like the demon preacher said. Um, Here it goes. Verse 11. Then thou shalt say unto them, because your fathers have forsaken me, said the Lord, and have walked after other gods, and have walked after other gods, and have served them, and have worshiped them, and have forsaken me, and have not kept my law. I know what they tell us now. Christ came to fulfill the will of his Father. He did not come to change anything. He came to fulfill. He came to connect us back to the Father through the seed, through the lineage of David, who was a Jew. Let's read. That's why Kendrick Lamar, he rightfully says, I'm not African American. He says I'm a Jew. He just hasn't connected all the dots yet. So he says in 11, then thou shalt say unto them, because your fathers have forsaken me, said the Lord, and have walked after other gods, which is something we're loving. We love doing this today, because other gods allow us to sin, allows us to be dirty in our thought process, in our hearts, and let us do whatever it is that we want to do. He said, and have served them, and have worshiped them, and have forsaken me, and have not kept my law. And ye have done worse than your father. So we're doing worse than our ancestors. We're doing worse than our fathers from generations ago. We're doing worse. For behold, ye walk every one after the imagination of his evil heart, that they may not hearken unto me. Therefore will I cast you out of this land into a land, listen, that ye know not, neither ye nor your fathers. And there shall ye serve other gods day and night, where I will not show you favor. You can keep reading if you want to. I'm just trying to get through here. So that was Jeremiah 16. Let's go to another witness. Let's go to Jeremiah, the 17th chapter, starting at the 4th verse. So Jeremiah 17:4 says, and thou, even thyself, shall continue from thine heritage that I gave thee. He gave us a heritage. Y'all, we are really rich. We are really, really rich. We have a rich history, a rich heritage. And it goes all the way back to the beginning where he said, let us make man in our image, that you can find in Genesis 1. We have a rich history. So Jeremiah 17:4. And thou, even thyself, shall discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee, and I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in the land which thou knowest not. For ye have kindled a fire in my anger, which shall burn forever. To discontinue our heritage. Because we keep disobeying him. To this day, we going back to Sodom and Gomorrah today. We're in Sodom and Gomorrah. But because the Bible was presented to us in a different, let me see, how can I put it? The way that the Bible and Christianity presented itself, we've been here since the beginning. Since the beginning. Since the beginning. I will post a video about verifying the Bible. Because when you think about the Black Panther movement, when you think about all other religions, all other gods that we are now following, none of these gods are mentioned about in scripture. It's proven why I am not African American. I believe I read this, but I'm going back to Deuteronomy 49. Going back to Deuteronomy 49. I really like this Bible. I have this Bible app on my computer because it allows me to go back to the very first English translation of the Bible, which is the King James Version 1611 was the King James Version translation. This actually has other missing parts of the Bible. There was a section of the Bible taken out in 1928. Pay attention to that date. 1928. That wasn't that long ago. My grandfather was born 2 years prior to that. That wasn't that long ago. 1928 is when they took this piece out. So with this King James 1611, it takes me to even more books of the Bible that was a part of the original translation of the King James Version. Okay, so going back to Deuteronomy, I'm going to try to get through these. 28:49 and the 49th verse. Line upon line, precept upon precepts. And it says, and the Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth. Take note of this, as swift as an eagle. What is our national bird? As swift as an eagle flieth. A nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. The Bible is a history book, people. It's not this, ooh, ooh, nah. This is the truth. This is fire. This is telling us exactly what's going on, okay? And so let me go ahead and go. I did Deuteronomy 28. Let me do Jeremiah 4. Let's go back to Jeremiah. And there are people, it's foolish. They have not known me because we keep disobeying him. Even after he delivered us from the hands of Pharaoh in Egypt. Let me just first go back to say, he told us that when we were in our motherland, which is Jerusalem, Israel, over there, There's nothing but a mere river or a small body strip of water that separates Jerusalem and Israel from Africa. So God told us in 70 AD that when we see that we're getting ready to get invaded, when we see the armies coming up against Jerusalem, he told us to flee. Flee into the mountains. Well, where were those mountains? Those mountains were in Egypt. Those mountains were in Africa. That's how we got to Africa. Let's keep going. Okay, so 22 says, "For my people is foolish." We fools. We straight fools. We acting foolish, especially today. They've had a way to turn us against our history. Our history. Our history. They've turned us against it. They want us to believe it's ooh. They want us in that kind of mind frame. Because if we really dig in here and get with a great roadmap to help us to navigate through here, boy, I'm telling you,